Yeah.
Back at it,
Back
guys.
at it like a good snack habit.
Yeah.
So, hey, I saw this pop up. It said, "We stick with Trump, we keep losing elections." Former House Speaker Paul Ryan.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's see what they're saying.
Okay.
With former Speaker of the House and former vice presidential candidate Paul Ryan for his first Sunday show interview since leaving office. Ryan is now out with a new book, American Renewal, a conservative plan to strengthen the social contract and save the country's finances. He also happens to be the last Republican to serve as Speaker of the House. We began by discussing the legacy of his successor, Nancy Pelosi.
It's an impressive legacy. I mean, obviously, she and I usually disagree on things, but first woman speaker, a career to be proud of. And frankly, I think about her husband, Paul, a lot these days. I just feel so awful about what happened to them. She has an incredible legacy and career to look back on.
The midterms, I think I saw you had predicted that at least 15 seats, Republicans pick up at least 15. What happened?
A couple of factors, but I personally think the evidence is really clear. The biggest factor was the Trump factor. Just look at how Kristen Sununu ran ahead of Bolduc in New Hampshire. Look at where Kemp ran ahead of Walker in Georgia. So I think we would have clearly have won the Senate had we had traditional Republicans in the general election, like these governors did. I think we would have won places like Arizona, places like Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, had we had a typical traditional conservative Republican, not a Trump Republican. So I think what we now know, it's pretty clear, is with Trump we lose. So I don't mean this personally. It's just evidence. We lost the House in 18, we lost the presidency in 20, we lost the Senate in 20, and now in 2022, we should have and could have won the Senate. We didn't. And we have a much lower majority in the House because of that Trump factor. So I think it's palpable right now. We get past Trump, we start winning elections. We stick with Trump, we keep losing elections. That's just how I see it.
But he had incredible power in the primaries.
Yeah.
I mean, his candidates won in the Republican primaries almost across the board.
That's the point. He can get his people through the primaries, but they can't win general elections. So it's really clear. I think the Republican voter is going to move on. That's why I don't think he ends up winning the nomination at the end of the day. I think we have a great stable of good, capable conservatives who are more than capable of winning this primary for presidency and winning the election. And I think Republican voters know that. So that's why I think our voters, ultimately, who really want to win, are going to give us candidates who can win.
What will it mean to the Republican Party if he actually wins the nomination again?
We probably likely lose the White House.
Oh.
We just did in 20. So I think we probably lose the White House with Trump. And if there's someone not named Trump, my guess is we win the White House.
But I'm saying if he wins the general election, if he becomes president again, I mean, the way Liz Cheney has put it, it's like an existential threat to the country.
I just don't think he's going to. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think he'll win.
He's just unelectable.
I think he's unelectable because that suburban voter. You think he's more popular since the 2020 election with the swing voter in America or less?
No evidence of that at all. But he does seem to have a hold on a good chunk of the Republican Party. Whether or not it's a majority, we'll see.
That's right. But I think he's going to continue to lose altitude because we want to win. And we know with him we lose. We have a string of losses to prove that point. And there are a lot of really good, capable conservatives who people, I think, like, that are more than capable of not only being good conservatives in office, but can win elections.
As you know, the fear that Republicans have had, and this goes back to 2015 when he first announced, the fear that they have is that Donald Trump loses the primary, but then marches across the street and declares he's an independent candidate.
Then he gives the left the country, and I think he would not want to be blamed for doing that.
So you think that he has the ability
Look, I don't talk to him, so I don't know what's going on in his mind. Look, here's how I was not an ever-Trumper.
You worked with him as speaker. I mean,
I governed with him, and I'm very proud of those days. I'm proud of the accomplishments of the tax reform, the deregulation of criminal justice reform. I'm really excited about the judges we got on the bench, not just the Supreme Court, but throughout the judiciary. But I am a never again Trumper. Why? Because I want to win. And we lose with Trump. It was really clear to us in 18, in 20, and now in 2022.
A few weeks before the election, you said that a single-digit majority in the House would be inoperational. In other words, as Speaker, you couldn't lead.
Well, you couldn't run the place with just your party. You couldn't run the place with your votes.
Because now McCarthy's going to have maybe a 3 or 4 seat
you
majority.
always have leakage. No matter what bill you're going to bring to the floor, it is almost impossible with that tight of majority to have just only your party passing legislation. When I was Speaker, we had better majorities, bigger majorities. We could pass bills on our own. But if you have such a narrow majority, it's going to be really hard. Having said that, there's nothing as unifying as a really razor-thin majority. That is a unifying thing in and of itself. I've been in the House where we've had pretty tight majorities. Not this tight.
I mean, it wasn't this tight.
Tight.
You had double digits, to be clear.
Yeah, I had double digits when I was there. But, you know, in the Hastert days, we had a couple really thin majorities. And it does bring people together. It makes people realize I can't get everything I want. I have to be a part of a team. But having said that, it's going to be really hard on day in, day out to consistently have only your party bringing votes.
But you already have, I mean, McCarthy's not elected Speaker yet. You already have 2 members that have come out and said, no, never, will never vote for him. He may have a 3-seat majority.
Yeah. I mean, I think I lost like 8 votes my first time, and then 1 vote my second time, if I'm not mistaken.
But you had 236 votes.
I had a pretty good cushion.
Right.
So, I mean, that's to be expected.
What happens if he can't get 218?
I think he'll get 218.
But what happens if he can't?
It breaks down. I mean, if he doesn't get 218, we've got an elected Speaker, and there isn't anybody better suited to running this conference than Kevin McCarthy. He's been good for conservatives, frankly. But he's also a person who really understands how to manage a conference. Adam
Kinzinger said that if McCarthy becomes Speaker, he will be, quote, led around on a leash by Marjorie Taylor Greene and members of the Freedom Caucus. I mean, that's a vivid analogy, but this is, I mean, it's going to be tough. He has to, he's not going to be able to he's going to need to have them on board.
You run a coalition government when you're Speaker of the House within your own party. And there are we just elected a bunch of new people from New York and California from what I would call more centrist, moderate leading districts. Those are the majority makers. Kevin understands that. So you have to run a coalition.
But do you get uneasy when you see like Marjorie Taylor Greene over his shoulder when he was announcing the commitment to America?
He's running a coalition government. Everybody's got to be in the
You got to play the game, bro.
Entire conference to work with him. And he needs to motivate that entire conference.
Wow. So you do have this book out which looks at the financial issues facing the country, which are immense. Obviously, they were not part of this campaign. And when I see what Republicans have done so far as they prepare to take the majority, is talk about investigations. We've seen them come out, talk about, Hunter Biden. There are a number of impeachment resolutions that were already filed even before the election, not just Biden, but members of his cabinet. Would it be a mistake for Republicans, instead of getting into the ideas you're talking about, get into a heavy investigation?
No, they need to do oversight. I mean, typically what happens when you have one-party rule throughout Washington between the White House and Congress is there isn't enough sufficient oversight and accountability.
But oversight, but dragging in Hunter Biden, Fauci.
I think there is some stuff there at DOJ and Hunter that they probably should have some accountability and some investigations. But that's not a substitute for an agenda. Right. So the purpose of putting out an idea, and I'm glad you brought the book up. I wasn't sure you were going to bring the thing up.
We do have the book. We do have the book.
So the purpose of this is to offer a conservative plan to help this country get over its enormous challenges in the 21st century. If we have an unsustainable debt, and we're on an unsustainable debt trajectory, but we're going to have to make these programs work better. We're going to have to reform these programs so that you and I in the X generation on down actually have something. That's the kind of conversation we have to elevate our debate to, I think, in our federal national politics. And I think we can, because, America has always gotten it right at the end of the process, but after we go through a lot of political machinations.
You're ever optimistic.
I'm an optimistic person.
Yeah. So finally, you've put forward the ideas, you've talked about the direction of the party, the direction of the country. Are we ever going to see you back in politics?
I like doing it the way I'm doing it now.
Could you see yourself running for president again? I mean, you ran for vice president.
I ran for vice president.
Well, you were on it, yeah.
No, I mean, I definitely am not running in 2024. And I don't think, I have presidential-sized policy ambition, but I really don't have presidential-sized personal ambition. So I just don't see myself doing that.
Okay, so we can take that as a maybe.
No.
Don't do it. All right, Paul Ryan, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time.
Good to be with you, man. Thanks. Pleasure.
Wow.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News.
Yeah, I thought that was
really
wow. That was really interesting.
I want to check his book out.
Ron Paul? Paul Ryan? I'm sorry. Yeah, I was because that's what a lot of people are saying. You got certain people that are going from that are diehard to Trump, but you got a lot of people conservative that say, hey, we want to see DeSantis now.
Yeah. And why even split it when your chances of winning are going to slim, and now you're going to split, the party.
Correct.
And we have a potential that people really want to see.
Correct.
They need to be putting their vote, but people need to think for themselves once again, and don't vote that way. You need to vote for the candidate who is better, has a better possibility of winning.
Yeah, the better possibility.
And especially fit the criteria.
Yeah, because
really
I don't know who has the better possibility of winning, but I have someone that I may be leaning more towards. But it's but
I'm still doing the research.
Doing research. I'm still studying too. I'm studying Trump, studying DeSantis, studying. Just study, just getting your study on. Get your study, because that's the only way to do it. Because sometimes also, even on the right side, people want you to follow people on the right side. So a lot of people on the right side also do like on the left side, where you don't educate yourself. It's really just more of a cultural that why we vote this way too. Everybody need to educate themselves unless you've already educated yourself on why you make your choice.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Like, comment, subscribe. Don't take a nose dive, but comment down in the section below if you want some more.
And let us know what you think, guys. This was really good.
That is.
Yeah.
Bye.